YouTube Francs, welcome to a condensed guide covering the return of our beautiful Electro Archon, the Raiden Shogun. Back in 2.1, I created a complete guide that runs through the entirety of her kit, front to back, in maximum level detail. This 2.5 rerun guide is going to be a condensed version and assumes you have basic level understanding of Raiden's kit to provide you with a crash course of the necessary when it comes to optimizing your Raiden Shogun. If you'd like a more detailed breakdown, head over to the original complete guide, which will be linked in the description. If you're new here, first off, welcome to the channel and appreciate you dropping by. I also stream most nights on Twitch. Feel free to check out my community over there and their chaotic chill vibes. Link in the description. Alright, let's begin. Timestamps provided for your convenience. But before we continue, thanks to Free Fire for sponsoring this video. Free Fire is an action-packed battle royale game, and right now they're teaming up with Assassin's Creed for a new in-game collaboration. So there's never been a better time to join in on the fun. During the collaboration, you'll notice tons of awesome features in Bermuda, and can even go to the Sanctuary to perform the iconic Leap of Faith at this collab-exclusive location, where you can find tons of in-game loot. Be on the lookout for the new redesigned in-game elements such as the airship, parachute, and backpack cosmetics, as well as the P90, AWM, and Eagle weapons. And if you're into assassin fashion, there's some great options to dress like the Brotherhood while you battle through Bermuda. Free Fire is available now for free on Android and iOS, as well as Free Fire Max for a higher fidelity experience and shared account matchmaking system. To get it now, using the download link in the description below. Now, back to the video. First off, a breakdown of my Raiden Shogun and what my endgame investment looks like. She's level 90 out of 90, she's Constellation 6 with level 1, 9, 11 talents. I'm running her signature Engulfing Lightning at R5 alongside a maximum resin invested 4-piece emblem set that looks like follows. These pieces grant me an insane level of crit value, and with the Engulfing Lightning passive active, overall stats look like follows. She's 2.6k attack, 73 168 crit, 258.9 recharge. I am running attack percent Goblet instead of electro damage bonus due to substats, so my additional damage bonus that comes from electro, burst, or all damage bonus is strictly from Raiden's built-in kit, which we'll get to. Now that you've seen high-end investment, these are recommended character investment thresholds that I would recommend you hit for your Raiden. Details broken down later in the video. Level 80 out of 90, Ascend to 90 for the energy recharge ascension stat. Talents 168. Elemental Burst is her entire kit value. Weapon. Minimum R1 catch, recommended R5 catch, best weapon Engulfing Lightning, any refinement. Artifacts. I would recommend forcing the 4-piece emblem set no matter what. Raiden scales way too heavily with this set, optimizing her recharge and burst damage bonus, and it's worth sacrificing crit stats for 4-piece emblem. Constellation. Constellation 0 if you're F2P, and then Constellation 2 for the most value for dedicated gamers who have been saving their Primo Gems, Dolphins, or Whales alike. So, how does she work? I'm sure the basic knowledge floating around is Raiden press burst, do damage, and generate energy for team. And yeah, that's basically her in a nutshell. Just remember to press your elemental skill every once in a while, and make sure to press your teammate's elemental burst first to make her do bigger number. Let's run through her talents in bare minimum expected detail. Normal attack, not used. Her burst provides a unique set of multipliers that override her normal attack and have different scaling. You can see that here versus normal attack. So you can leave this at level 1. Elemental skill always should be active. This ability has technically infinite uptime, but remember to reactivate it every 10 seconds or so or else it'll poof. Also generates an electro orb every 2 seconds or so, and increases the active character's burst damage by 1% of their burst energy cost. At level 6, it's 0.27% per energy, which is 24.3% burst damage for Raiden Shogun. That's like half an Electro Goblet's worth for comparison. Elemental Burst. Just like in the complete guide, it's easily explained in 4 steps. 1. While gaining particles and using other party members' bursts, her passive chakra increases. This chakra is the ring behind the character. 2. The more chakra, the stronger her burst when activated. So you want everyone else to use their burst first before Raiden's. Number 3. Her burst attacks in this Muso Ishin state are all electro damage. They all have unique multipliers outlined in her burst, and they count as burst damage. This is why 4-piece emblem is a must for her. And number 4, her burst attacks regen party energy every 1 second at max 5 times. This is flat energy return. So repeat 1 to 4 and you profit. Now, as you can see, her burst has a lot of numbers. If you want the full details, my complete guide has a time-stamped section that goes through it in full. Here, I'm going to simplify and provide you what you need to know. Chakra resolve stacks, really strong. All I recommend is you use your team's burst before hers. You will notice the difference if you don't. Chakra is a multiplier increase, which is not affected by diminishing returns of stacking attack, crit damage, and Electro. An average team comp surrounding Raiden should expect her chakra to boost her burst by 30%. This is broken down in the original guide. Her full 60 stack chakra ring grants about a 60% damage boost. This is only practical to achieve with Constellation 1 and a mono Electro team comp. Energy Restoration. Her burst restores a flat energy to your team once per 5 seconds during her burst. Her restoration is also increased based on her passive, Enlightened One, off of this first part. At level 6, you can expect 17 flat energy gain returned to the party just from her burst. During this time, her elemental skill should also be active and still generating Electro Orbs. Passive talents. Ascension 1. This is a slight chakra gauge fill from particle gain. Ascension 4. Recharge above 100% grants her additional flat energy gain from her burst and electro damage bonus. Using 200% recharge, for example, generates 60% more flat energy and grants 40% electro damage bonus. For my level 11 burst, 2.5 restoration with a 60% boost becomes 4 energy, which 5 times is 20 flat energy. So how much Electro/burst damage bonus does her kit plus 4 emblem grant her? This is really important to mention because it shows why an attack goblet is perfectly viable on her. As an example, let's have 3 different recharge levels. So the elemental skill always provides this percentage conversion for Raiden Shogun. At level 9, it's 0.3% per energy, which is 27%. But at level 6, it's 0.27. So we're going to go with 24% from that value. So a 200% recharge Raiden gets 24% from a level 6 elemental skill, 50% from 4-piece emblem Severed Fate, and 40% from Ascension 4 passive, which is 114% Electro/burst damage bonus. 225% recharge Raiden, which is my personal recommendation for your recharge stat for Raiden. It's 24% from the elemental skill again, 56% from emblem, 50% from Ascension 4, which is 130%. Now, 250% Raiden gets 24% plus 62 plus 60% or 146%. So reminding you guys that this is without an Electro Goblet. Alright, so talent priority should be no surprise. Elemental Burst over the Elemental Skill. The normal attack is not used. Elemental Burst deserves level 8 or higher. Elemental Skill can be increased for that super minor Elemental Burst damage bonus % conversion from this. This does cap at 0.3% though. You can notice here, crowning it would not improve that. Alright then, quick notes on optimizing her playstyle. Generally, most players will just aim for keeping her elemental skill active, while offloading their entire team's rotation with Raiden at the end. While her burst is activated, any mixture of normal attacks and or charge attacks is completely fine. Energy will only be restored once every 1 second up to 5 times, so spamming left click autos or charge attacks will hit this threshold just fine. Here's what common rotations look like. A5 times 3. This is the left click spam rotation. Perfectly reasonable. You do have end lag on the last hit, but for the most part, it's perfectly fine. Then we have A3 charge times 3. This is the rotation that includes a charge attack spam. And lastly, what I personally prefer, A5 into E cancel into A5 times 2 or A3 charge times 2. This is just including E canceling, which I would highly recommend as it cuts the end lag from her normal autos while also refreshing her elemental skill buff to maintain that every 10 seconds cooldown. Now we've covered her gameplay basics. Let's throw a weapon on her. Now usually this section on my complete guides has very lengthy visual demonstrations of different weapon powers. To condense this, I'm going to simply summarize my recommendations and provide the end chart of comparisons for your browsing leisure. If you'd like to see all the weapons in action and how the numbers were produced in the chart, that is all in the 2.1 guide linked in the description. Alright, so R1 to R5 catch. This is the F2P, a budget gamer weapon. This provides recharge, burst damage, and crit rate. Has perfect synergy, can be useful whenever. Wavebreaker's Fin at R3 to R5. This is a gacha only 4-star weapon, but it is an excellent synergistic choice, converting high energy cost teams to burst damage. But this weapon does not provide energy recharge on the secondary stat, so you need an energy recharge timepiece for this weapon. R5 Lithic Spear, or R1 plus Deathmatch, or R5 Favonius Lance. These 3 weapons are all an option if you don't have the catch or Wavebreaker's Fin. You can use Lithic Spear and Deathmatch for more damage, and then Favonius Lance sacrifices damage for more team utility and recharge. For the 5-star weapons, Jade Spear and Homa are the crit sticks if not being used on anyone else in your roster. Skyward Spine if you don't want to fish for the catch and are waiting in prayer for Engulfing Lightning. Engulfing Lightning is signature. There's no explanation needed for this weapon. Weapons that I didn't mention I generally wouldn't prefer over the ones I mentioned here. On to artifacts. I'm going to assume that you have 4-piece emblem, or if you don't, that you're farming for it. Other stray possibilities until you do get 4-piece emblem set are Thunder Soother 4-piece, Noblesse 2-piece or 4-piece, Thundering 2-piece, Gladiator or Shimenawa 2-piece. Those can be mostly mixed and matched. Now, for 4-piece emblem, there's a very common question. When should I use an Electro Goblet versus an Attack Goblet? We know that for the timepiece, always go for energy recharge, especially with Engulfing Lightning. And then if you don't have Engulfing Lightning, then 99% of the time you're still going to run recharge, and 1% of the time you're going to use attack percent. This is strictly because recharge is way too synergistic with both the emblem 4-piece set and Raiden's Ascension 4 passive. So for the Goblet, run Electro if maximizing attack buffs. For example, damage per screenshot builds with Bennett and Sorrow dual buffing, and or R1 plus Engulfing Lightning attack conversion plus a single buff. And then run attack percent if you are limited on the attack buffs. For example, only Noblesse buff and no Bennett on the team, like Electro Charge for example. If you only have Bennett on the team, for example National plus Raiden, then choose attack or Electro Goblet, whichever has better substats. So, to summarize, we have both builds. We have Energy Recharge Timepiece, Attack Goblet, and then Crit Rate Crit Damage Mask. Or Energy Recharge Timepiece, Electro Goblet, and then Crit Rate Crit Damage Mask. They're both great. If you still can't decide, just pick the best substat piece. Okay, so recommended stat values. With the catch or the Engulfing Lightning, I recommend 225% or higher energy recharge. Now, you'll realize that 258.9% is actually the absolute minimum recharge that you can have if you have a level 90 Engulfing Lightning, 4-piece emblem set, energy recharge timepiece, and her Ascension stat. I have 0 additional recharge from my substats here. And then for crit rate crit damage, I recommend 65% plus crit rate and then 130% or higher crit damage. Now, if you do have a crit rate or a crit damage based weapon, then this changes to 190% or higher recharge, 75 or higher crit, and 150 or higher crit damage. Obviously, the more the better, but once you hit those thresholds that I mentioned, then your Raiden's build is satisfactory. Constellations. Alright, I'm pretty sure everyone by now knows, holy crap, Raiden's Constellation 2 is so strong. And especially with her rerun, we can revisit her Constellation value. I'm mostly going to be summarizing a previous video that I made directly comparing the strength increases of each meaningful constellation for Raiden Shogun. If you want to check out that video, head to the description as well. Constellation 1. This is a more efficient resolve stat game. Only Raiden as an Electro team, for example National plus Raiden, those compositions expect rotationally this to provide a 6% DPS gain. If you do run a team comp with 3 or more Electro characters, including Raiden on the team, expect a 15% DPS gain. Again, this is only for usual rotations. The resolve stack cap remains at 60, so C1 is only improving the charge speed, not the ceiling of her damage. If you get 60 resolve stacks every time, then you're going to see 0 value from this constellation. C2. This is the strongest early constellation in the game, at 60% ignore defense for her burst attacks. This is a raw 50% DPS gain and is not affected by diminishing returns from attack, crit damage, or Electro or all damage scaling. Reminder, this is not a defense decrease for enemies, which I think a lot of people get confused over. This is ignore defense for just herself. However, you can stack this with characters that do defense decreasing, like Xlice 2 as just one example. Constellation 3 and Constellation 5. This is the standard plus 3 levels to Elemental Skill and Elemental Burst for a 20% damage increase. Constellation 3 is for her burst, which is much more valuable. Constellation 4, 30% team buff, not for herself. And finally, Constellation 6. You know, the funny thing is, this constellation is almost never practically useful. And it's because usual rotations don't actually need to be super fast where you're popping your burst earlier than it should be popped. Typically in actual situations where you're doing constant rotations, you won't recover the full energy for the whole team that quickly. So Constellation 6 Raiden is really a flex constellation. I would stick to Constellation 2 for obvious reasons, and then Constellation 3 if you want 20% more DPS from her burst. Alright, for team compositions, let's go condensed and to the point. National team plus Raiden. This is the Bennett, Xingqiu plus Xiangli plus Raiden Shogun. Raiden acts as the battery to funnel the other characters' high energy cost bursts. Xingqiu can get away with Lion's Roar in this comp for more damage instead of Sacrificial Sword. The Eula plus Raiden staple. This is a great queen synergy between these two. Superconduct, Energy Battery, and burst of damage increase via Elemental Skill, and then 2 characters with a 7-second burst duration and an 18 to 20 second cooldown allowing for smooth swapping. Zhongli to protect the team. Electrochar Raiden plus Kokomi. The last 2 slots are usually Venti or Kazuo as the Anemo debuffer or buffer, and plus double Electro like Yai Miko, C6R, etc. Komi here can be swapped for a Mona or Xingqiu, but lose the survivability and not as much AoE Hydra application. Mona's Omen buff is a technical damage increase, and then Xingqiu is a high DPS Hydro character, but the sword procs are only single target. Other fun comps, the Quadra Archon team with Raiden, Zhongli, Venti, and Bennett, Overload if you had a Pyro DPS, Quick Swamp with any unit that rotates their burst often, and then any burst DPS oriented team. Doesn't matter who they are. Honestly, I wonder how you YouTube frogs feel with how straightforward I'm being. It's only possible since I already have a guide out and this is a rerun. Alright, it's showcase time. This footage is reused from the 2.1 guide because I cannot untoggle my Constellation 6. However, I am going to include 2 clips, one recent Yai clip against the recent Abyss, and also a nuke with Constellation 6 Sara. Cue the music, Mr. Cope. And with the showcase complete, that about wraps up this condensed Raiden guide. Let me know what you think in the comments of this structure and if you like it for rerun characters that already have existing guides from me. Is it redundant or refreshing? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I wish that everyone's still trying to pull Raiden the best of luck. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.